Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey to give you my top 5 most likely candidates for the next coach to be fired. So Mike Babcock, he got fired. So we're looking at who will be the next one to get the boot, who will be the next one to get fired as head coach. So I'm going to go through 5 names. Start with some honorable mentions here because I do think there's quite a few right now early in the season. Again, it's early in the season, so there's a lot to still evaluate. There's a lot to still kind of wait out on. I'll give some honorable mentions and then my top 5 most likely. A few honorable mentions. Jeremy Colliton with the Chicago Blackhawks. I think the Blackhawks should be closer to a playoff spot. Again, it is early and they've had some successful games of this month of November as I make this video. But at the end of the day, we'll see how they go for the rest of 2019, and then if the Blackhawks are below 500, I think that's when you start considering, is Jeremy Colliton the issue there? I do think they have a lot of holes, specifically defensively, and I think their depth up front, I think they're getting a lot of their scoring in their top 6, so we'll see what happens in that regard. They do have the tandem of Corey Crawford and Robin Lehner, and they've been pretty decent. Crawford had a rough start, but he's been better. Robin Lehner's been better, so we'll see what happens there, but I do think Jeremy Colliton is a honorable mention. Jeff Blashill with the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings are expected to be bad, but they're last place or second last place in the NHL right now. They're bottom 2, and I just think if you're looking at the problems there, Blashill might be an issue. Again, if you're looking at Mike Babcock, he was the guy before Blashill, and the Red Wings have not been good since. So we'll see what happens there, but I do think he's an honorable mention. John Tortorella, I do not think the Blue Jackets should fire him. You saw what the Blue Jackets did last year, and they definitely got worse on paper. It's proven from what we've seen so far. I didn't think they would be this bad, so I think John Tortorella is on the watch in some sense, maybe a top 10 candidate, but he's not in my top 5 most likely, and I do think he has to be mentioned as an honorable mention, but I would say he should not get fired. And Ralph Kruger with the Buffalo Sabres. I think the Buffalo Sabres are not doing great once again. They are just above 500 as I make this video, but I do think they wanted to make that next step. They want to make the playoffs, and Ralph Kruger will get a lot of ownership regarded towards him if they don't make the playoffs, so I do think he is an honorable mention. All right, so starting with number 5, Peter Laviolette with the Nashville Predators. So the Predators right now are not where I thought they should be. Go check out my video. I had them as one of my Stanley Cup contenders and had them as one of my favorites. I just think you're talking about an addition like Matt Duchene. Granlund's been a big disappointment, but I thought a full year with the Nashville Predators for him. They're stacked on defense. The goaltending duo there with Rene and Saros. So it's just disappointing to see that the Predators are struggling in some sense. No, they're not at the bottom of the league. They are above 500, but this is a team that, in my opinion, should be top 5 in the NHL. So I think it is a disappointment. Is it all on Laviolette? 100% no, but I do think he is on the watch. Number 4, Pete DeBoer. I don't think this comes with a surprise. The San Jose Sharks have struggled. Yes, they lost their captain, Joe Pavelski. They lost a scorer like Jonas Donskoy. The Sharks have struggled, and honestly, with Joe Thornton coming back, Patrick Marleau coming back, it would be very disappointing to see the Sharks team miss the playoffs. And if the Sharks team misses the playoffs, it'd be pretty likely that Pete DeBoer's time in San Jose would be over. All right, so this one is more recent. The Montreal Canadiens losing 4 straight against teams like the Devils, Senators, Blue Jackets, and most recently giving up a 4-0 lead against the New York Rangers and losing that game 6-5. The Canadiens have not looked good recently, and I think you saw how quickly things got bad for the Toronto Maple Leafs and Mike Babcock had to move on. If the Montreal Canadiens were to slide out of a playoff spot or towards the end of the season and miss a playoff spot, Claude Julien's definitely not going to be the coach anymore. You saw what happened last year. They got unlucky, and if Claude Julien and the Montreal Canadiens miss the playoffs again, Julien's time with Montreal is probably done. All right, so Bill Peters. So this one is interesting because you saw what kind of year the Flames had last year, and Bill Peters having a big part in that, coming from Carolina and then finding that success with Calgary. It'd be weird to see him get fired, but I have him at number 2 mostly because the Flames, if they were to drop off that much, you'd have to rely some of that onto the coach. Yes, there's a lot of players that are having issues right now, a lot of communication errors, and just, I would say, a lot of games where they're finding themselves unlucky. Goalie situation, finding inconsistencies there. But Bill Peters is at number 2 for me because if the Flames were to miss the playoffs or were to fall down quickly, they would have to make a big change. And I think Flames fans will be in agreement with me on this, that you're not trying to trade a guy like Johnny Gaudreau for couple scraps. If anything, your big change would be coming from management or would be coming for your coach. All right, so number 1, the Devils, John Hynes. He's one of the most, if not, I think he might be the most longest standing coach right now. He's up there for sure, and I think it might be time to move on from John Hynes. The Devils acquiring guys like PK Subban, Wayne Simmons, Nikita Gusev, it just hasn't worked out. They're bottom 4 in the league. They're at the bottom of the Metropolitan Division. Honestly, it's pretty embarrassing. You got the first overall pick in Jack Hughes. Taylor Hall's not wanting to re-sign. Things are getting messy in New Jersey quickly, and I have John Hynes right at the top. I would be very surprised, unless the Devils make a big comeback in the standings, I'd be very surprised if John Hynes lasts the season. That's how confident I am that he will be, if not the next, one of the next coaches to be let go. Unfortunate that we are having a list like this, but I do think this season we're seeing a lot of coaches getting the warnings, getting the kind of sign that things might be moving in a different direction, and I think John Hynes is definitely at the top of that list. So Mike Babcock got fired, and the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're seeing them on paper. My top 5 list are teams that I expected to do well. The only team on my top 5 that I didn't have making the playoffs was the Devils. I thought the Devils would be better though, but if you look at the Predators, if you look at the Canadiens, if you look at the San Jose Sharks, and then Bill Peters obviously with the Calgary Flames. So I think at the end of the day, 1 or 2 of these coaches, to be honest, are going to be gone either during the season or by the end. I think, again, John Hynes is most likely. We'll see what happens, but thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like. This was John from RPO Bay Adelaide. Have a good one. Peace out.